So, hi everyone. We are back today to finish. We are back to finish our study that we began yesterday. Yesterday we saw the Ukraine war using month-by-month timeline. Today, before we return to the study, we're gonna go on our knees to have a prayer, a silent prayer. Amém. So, as I said yesterday, we began with the study regarding the fall of the King of South. We finished in January 2023. With the timeline of the war. So returning now, we're going to see February 23. So on February, the Pentagon awards Northrop Grumman Army contract for more ammunition. And then 2 ships leave Ukrainian ports under Black Sea Grain Initiative. On February 15, is reported that more than 6,000 children forcibly moved to Russia. Those Ukrainian officials says. Dala Herashimuk, Commissioner of the President of Ukraine for Children's Rights and Rehabilitation, said, Russian forces have forcibly removed more than 6,000 children from Ukraine. We cannot forgive the fate of more than 6,000 children who were forcibly removed from the territory of Ukraine, actually stolen, and these are only those we know for sure. Herashimuk said, adding that the number of missing children could be higher. There are no accurate data on the number of forcibly displaced and deported children, since we do not have any diplomatic relations with Russia, and Russia refuses to communicate not only with us, but also with international organizations about Ukrainian children. She added in remarks announcing a new portal that will help Ukrainians track and report crimes against children. The platform dubbed Children of War was established at the direction of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and aims to quickly collect, report information about children lost, displaced, or deported during the war. Continuing in February, Russia lost about half of the best tanks in the Ukrainian war. Stoltenberg reiterates that 30 member alliances will defend every inch of NATO territory. Zelensky meets with Swedish counterpart in Kyiv to discuss future weapons. Then we passed a little bit, we're going to see about NATO. NATO will step up support for Bosnia, Georgia, and Moldova. Popular support in the US for providing weapons to Ukraine has deepened, survey says. Says a reporter. Finance Minister Finland's defense minister advocates for Sweden and Finland to join NATO simultaneously. European Commission outlined new sanctions package against Russia, targeting export oligarchs. Russian forces have relocated at 6,000 Ukrainian children to camps since the start of the war. This is one report. Pentagon awards Northrop Grumman Army contract for more ammunition. And 2 ships leave Ukrainian ports under Black Sea Grain Initiative. So here we finish our timeline regarding what happened since began this Ukrainian war. It's not easy, it's not something simple that we say just like we passing some news that has no sense. It's something really difficult to talk about, but we need to talk about it. So continuing now, I will use one article that Elder Perminda has posted on the media broadcast on 7th of the January this year. And the comments of Elder Perminda has been this: the real cause for the Ukrainian war, the need to restrict equality, and human rights. And then the article calls Moscow's war in Ukraine brought harsh tactics against gay Russians at home. So beginning the article, it says, as Russian President Vladimir Putin steers Russia toward becoming a closed-off conservative society ruled by traditional values and bound tightly to the Orthodox Church, which visions of Russian world, in opposition to the decadent, amoral West, the Russian parliament has expanded Moscow's official discrimination against gays and others of non-heterosexual orientations. The idea of Russia as a defender of traditional Christian beliefs has been used to justify Putin's invasion of Ukraine, and it has driven the Russian parliament to tighten restrictions on LGBTQ propaganda. In December, Putin signed the legislation making it illegal to promote or prize same-sex relationships, to publicly express non-heterosexual orientations, or to suggest they are normal, expanding a 2013 law that prohibited spreading gay propaganda among minors. That ban now applies to all ages. The tougher law is just one way the war in Ukraine has made life worse for LGBTQ minorities. For LGBTQ, sorry, I will repeat. The tougher law is just one way the war in Ukraine has made life worse for LGBTQ Russians. Rights groups and on our head, I will continue the whole paragraphs. I'm sorry, I will do it again. The tougher law is just one way the war in Ukraine has made life worse for LGBTQ Russians. Rights groups and advocates who previously defended sexual and other minorities have been branded as foreign agents. Many were driven out Russia. Legal experts say the new ban was drafted vaguely to sow confusion and maximize the potential for prosecution and hefty fines against anyone engaging in public discourse that describes LGBTQ people in a positive or even neutral way, including in ads, books, or online. Continuing, according to Human Rights Watch, whose Russian office was shut down in April, the law perpetuates false and demanding messaging that tries to link LGBTQ people with pedophiles. By contrast, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has opened the door to legalize same-sex civil unions after the war highlighted a lack of rights and protections for gay soldiers and their partners. So we see that using the war to say that he wants to bring back traditional values to Russia So going back to the comments of Elder Perminda, we can resume this point with his comments at that day. It began as Russian President Vladimir Putin steers Russia toward becoming a closed-off conservative society ruled by traditional and bound tightly to the Orthodox Church with visions of a Russian world in opposition to decadent and moral West, the Russian parliament has expanded Moscow's official discrimination against gays and others of non-heterosexual orientation. So, still talking about gender, the war related to gender, we're going to use an article that had been posted by Elder Tess at the media broadcast. And the article calls Rape as a Weapon, Huge Scale of Sexual Violence Inflicted in Ukraine Emerges. Yes. We have the comments of the article for the translators. We have the comment of this article. And it says, Ukraine, sexual and domestic violence under the cover of war. So the comment is the following. Sexual violence against women has been used as weapon of war by men of all races, religions, all races and religions. Yeah. Sure. I will repeat from the beginning. Ukraine, sexual and domestic violence under the cover of war. Sexual violence against women has been used as weapon a weapon of war by men of all races and religions for thousands of years. Because of this, the barbaric behavior of these men and the heinous nature of their crimes are normalized. And so the evil continues in many conflict zones today. Women are seen as mere collateral damage or worse, the spoils of war. For millennia, parents have deftly been following the advice of Congressman Madison Carlton. Repeating, for millennia, parents have dutifully been following the advice of Congressman Madison Cawthorn. And men like him to bring up their sons to become monsters. What will begin to be uncovered in Ukraine is the scale of violence against women. Just one more reason that the conflicts raging across the world at this point of the history need to be viewed through the lens of gender bias. Violence against women and the resulting stigma that this violence brings. These conflicts can no longer be seen as merely proxy battles between King of the North and King of the South. We need to take these things seriously rather than viewing them as a common and minor. Rape is rape is underreported crime and stigmatized issue, even in peaceful times. At the time, the LDT said that she was worried that what we learned, she was worried about what we were learning about this. Then we can read some parts of the article that had been posted at that time. Is the rape as weapon, huge scale of sexual violence inflicted in Ukraine emerged. For the translators, the article has been Once again, for the translators, the article has been shared. Women and girls have recounted the abuse they have suffered at the hands of Russian soldiers. Women across Ukraine are grappling with the threat of rape as weapon of war, as growing evidence of sexual violence emerges from areas retaken from retreating Russian forces. The world was horrified on Sunday by a picture taken by the photographer Mikhail Palinchak on the highway 20 kilometers outside of the capital of Kiev, in which the bodies of one man and 3 women were piled under a blanket. The women were naked and their bodies had been partially burned, the photographer said. The harrowing image adds to a mounting body of evidence that summary executions, rape, and torture have been used against civilians in areas under Russian control since the Kremlin launched the invasion of its neighbor on February 24th last year. Particularly difficult for many to comprehend is the scale of the sexual violence, as Russian troops have withdrawn from towns and suburbs around the capital in order to refocus the war efforts in Ukraine's east. Women and girls have come forward to tell the police, media, and human rights organizations of atrocities they have suffered at the hands of Russian soldiers. Gang rapes, assaults taking place in the gunpoint, and rapes committed in front of children are among the grim testimonies collected by investigators. We have had several calls to our emergency hotline from women and girls seeking assistance, but in most cases, it's been impossible to help them physically. We haven't been able to reach them because of the fighting, said Katerina Sherepaska, the president of La Strada, Ukraine, a charity that supports survivors of trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual assault. very important to note that rape is an underreported crime and stigmatized issue, even in peaceful times. I am worried that what we learn about is just going to be the tip of the iceberg. Iceberg. Rape and sexual assault are considered war crimes and a breach of international humanitarian law. In both Ukraine's prosecutor general and the International Criminal Court have said they will open investigations into reported sexual violence. But what currently seems like a far-off possibility of justice has done little to assuage Ukrainian women's fears of what may yet happen in a war that is far from over. Antonina Medveduk, 31, said that when she woke up to the sound of the bombing on the day of the war broke out, the first thing she grabbed before leaving the north suburbs of Kyiv were condoms and scissors to use as weapon to protect herself. Cortou, Gabriela? Okay. Every break between curfew and bombing, I was looking for emergency contraception instead of a basic first aid kit, she said. My mother tried to reassure me. This is not a war like that. They don't exist anymore. They are from old movies. I have been a feminist for 8 years, and I cried in silence because all wars are like this. It is not only Russian soldiers Ukrainian women may have to protect themselves from. In Vinnytsia, a town in the west of the country, a teacher reported to police that a member of the Territorial Defense Service dragged her into the school library and tried to rape her. The man was arrested. Organizations such as La Strada, Ukraine, and a countrywide network called Feminist Workshop have been working online and with local government to distribute information about medical, legal, and psychological support available for victims of sexual assault, and are trying to find safe shelters for women and girls fleeing both the war and domestic violence. They fear, however, that the trauma caused by the use of rape as military tactic will lead to deep suffering across Ukrainian society for years to come. At this point, we can say that not only in Ukraine, in any other country that a war has becoming, that is happening wars, the women is suffering the same, women and girls. We can talk about Syria, Venezuela, any other, Iraq, any other place, Afghanistan. When a woman gets away, it looks like she's safe. She's far away from the guns and the men who raped her, said Sasha Kunster, External Affairs Manager for Leave Feminist Workshop, which has helped hundreds of displaced women and girls since the war broke out. But the trauma is a bomb inside her that follows her. The scale of what is happening now, it's heartbreaking. The headline of this article was amended on April 2022 to better reflect the article. So seeing that this article is from 4th of April, imagine we can imagine how many women and girls are suffering all over the world. And they leave Ukraine, or even if they are in Ukraine, after being raped, might be that some of them will have babies coming from this situation. And as was said here, the suffering is going under them, is with them. And we don't know how many time it will be needed to put this out, if it is possible. So now we're going to talk about the lines that show us about the fall of the King of South. As we have here this line, we can see that the line refers at this part the World War II. And then we have also Pyrrhus up here. Talking about Pyrrhus, we can see about Ipsos in 2016, referring to 2016. Heraclea, 2018. Referring Esculum with the 2019. Beneventum in 2021. Then we see here referring to the World War II. We can see from 1779 to 1889, 10 years of war. And then we come to 2014. We can relate Ukraine to 2014. But also, regarding World War II, we can see the pact that has been done here. And we had the King of North with the King of South. And 2016, related to the, not 2016, related to the World War II also, we can see here that the threefold countries that have been united to have a war against the King of North. Britain, France, and Poland. And from this time started the fight together with King of South and King of North for the West Front. And then all through here, they come together. But then, and here, from 2019 to 2021, they are fighting from the Eastern Front. So then we go here to talk about Daniel 1140a, part A. And we can put here, as already done here, we see a war from 1789 to 1798. And here we see a deadening wound. We see a progressive fall, and then the death. But we will see later a resurrection here. Then we go for Daniel 11:40, part B. And again, we can see a war going on in this from 1945 to 1989. We can see as well here a deadly wound. And a progressive fall. And that. We have to remember that from this period, on this period, we had a war of the king of North against the king of South for both parts. And again, here, as we see the death, later we're going to see the resurrection. The resurrection that we treating here, the death wound, the deadly wound, the death and the resurrection that we are treating here is of the king of the south. Because here the king of the south will resurrect. And we can use here, as we see, Esquilin, but then we can use these dates here. 5. And as we see, we will talk a progressive fall. And here we use 273 minus 273. Talking about Pyrrhus. So here really is the end for Pyrrhus. At the same point that we put the Sunday law for World War II. So using this structure, we have the license to use the same instruction here. So again, we go with a war until Peniel. And we see a progressive fall. We will see here a deadly wound. and no resurrection. So here we can put that is the death of the king of the south. Wait a minute. Here will be the death. Sorry. Really, I have to put the death here. In a later, here in the Sunday law, we will see, here at the Sunday law, we will see the death of the king of south. But to represent better, I will do like this. I will put here king of the south. But considering this death, and at the same time, we will see the rise up of the king of the north. And this is the point that we came to study, to see the death of the king of the south. At Benevento, we know better, more common as Penium. We have used it here. So that's the study. And I would like to invite everybody to kneel so we can pray. Dear God, we are so thankful for this camp meeting. And for your care and your watch at us. The same that we would like to ask for all the countries that are under war. And that we can be part of the people that will fight against this. We thank you for all the studies and preparations. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you, Renilde, for your presentation. It was a great presentation. Thank you for your hard work on recollecting all this information. From our prophecy studies, from media broadcasts, and from the news. The fall of the King of the South is an important issue for us in our present and also our future. And this is something we really need to understand. We want to say thank you to the speakers, the interpreters, and all the people that participated. And if you wish, I will invite you to turn on your camera so we can see each other. Vamos ver todo mundo.
Bonito. Vem, Deus, Bárbara.
Quem é o maior publicitário do Brasil?
Washington Oliveira.
Vem, Barbie.